Well, welcome back to Squared Away Garage, or should I say my hidey hole. So what we have here is a 64 C20 that I picked up a few months ago that I haven't even touched and I know very little about at this point. Price was right. I snagged it and brought it home, and I haven't even got it off the trailer yet. So I'm gonna pull this out and we'll do a little walk around on it, I guess. But the idea is today is to take it out to my buddy Tanner's. We're going to throw it on a lift, and we're going to deal with a brake issue, namely that it has none. So it needs the brakes fixed before I can really do anything on it. And that's the goal for today, is to figure out what needs to be sorted on that and get it taken care of. But before we do that, I'm going to roll this out of here, and we'll kind of look at some stuff on it. All right, I'll give you guys a little walk around here. As expected, battery was dead, but we got past that. You can see she's got a lot of dust and dirt on her. It's been sitting a long time. So she has no brakes on her, and that's just a little bit unnerving, pulling it off the trailer and just letting it roll. But anyway, let me give you a little detail on this thing. So it's a 64 C20, and she has 71,560 miles on it. So this truck was used for a pleasure vehicle. It had a camper in the back of it for many years, and the second owner bought it, pulled that camper shell out, and just drove it, you know, car shows or whatever. Well, that gentleman passed away, and I picked it up. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but it is a pretty nice survivor. The only real rust on it that I could see, we got a little here, we got some damage here, and I'm going to explain these to you here in a little bit when I get it on the lift. Notice the red steps down here. She's got a little rust here. It's not quite as bad on this side, but it's bubbling, so it's, you know, it's probably needs to patch panel there. Notice this again in our red step, and we're going to come back to that. The doors on this thing, just like a new truck, like nothing I've ever come across on a truck this old. It's just never, you know, this was not used to go to gas stations and little short trips where the doors were opened and closed, you know, a lot of times. It just, they got in it and they drove it a long ways, and then they got out of it. It is a custom cab. It does have the custom steering wheel. Instead of idiot lights, it's got the gauges. It does not have the vacuum gauge or the tach. But looky here, it's an original AC truck, and the sought after little ashtrays in it. And this is, as far as I can tell, this is the original seat in this truck. It's just perfect. So like I said, it was used for a camper. It did, or had a camper in the back. So the hooks are on it. And you'll see it's got some electrical to plug in the RV. But the bed is pretty damn good shape. I mean, this thing, I believe this is likely the original wood, and that is just crazy to me. It obviously, it's had some use without the camper in it, but not a lot. I mean, nothing's bent. This tailgate is true and straight. I do think it's got a dent in it. Yep, it's got a little dent here, unfortunately. Small cab, or small back window on the cab. And the other interesting thing is it's never had a rear view mirror in it. I thought that was kind of interesting. It originally had the bigger mirrors on it, and those have been taken off at some point for the small mirrors. It's got some bumps and bruises, but it's a pretty solid old truck. Got a little damage in the front nose, and I don't think the grill on it is perfect. One of the bumperettes has a little nick in it, but you know, it's a nice solid truck. I wish the trim wasn't as beat up, but solid truck, very solid truck. Okay, for the engine, it's a 4-speed manual with a 292 straight 6 in it. It does have, here's the original compressor, which I was told is supposed to work, but it does leak Freon off. But the guy that owned it had it running, as far as I know, what I was told. This is going to be interesting. I don't know anything about this, but it's an old Hydro Boost, it looks like. And hopefully that's not part of the brake problem that I'm going to have to deal with here, but I guess I'm going to find out. Pretty original under here. I mean, it's obviously had belts and hoses replaced. It does have an aftermarket radiator. I'm going to guess that the other one was probably getting plugged up, which is, this is fine. That's good as far as I'm concerned. Probably needed it. Took a little bit to get it started. The fuel in it is a little bit old, nasty. I think before I bought it, and it's been a few months since I purchased it, I think before I bought it, it had probably set a couple of years based off of what I know about it. Oh, the other thing I want to show on this too, just a testament to the condition of this truck. Look under the brow here. Look how clean it is. And the top, the seam sealer and everything on the top, because it had the over cab camper in it all its life. I think that was well protected, and it's in really good shape. I have been underneath this truck, and we're going to look underneath it here just a little bit. I have been underneath this truck already once before I purchased it, and I scrutinized it pretty good. It's dirty under there, so you know, I couldn't see everything perfectly, but it looks like there's very little, if any, real rust in it at all. So should be a solid truck. And I think now it's time to get it inside and put it on the lift.
Dude, this bed is in great shape.
Definitely got a few seals that are leaking.
Gosh, that's a camper.
Can't tell if it's all oil pan. There's a little side cover weep. The starter is properly lubricated, and there is a lot of hair stuck in this oil. Amazing. See the old factory green on the engine right there. I'd say that oil pan's been leaking for a little while. Still got some of the old factory tags on it. Gearbox is leaking a little bit there. Definitely got some oil leaking from somewhere down here. Not sure if it's all from the engine, at least some of it. Maybe the front seal on the transmission. Transmission's a little dirty. But here's the cool part about this truck. she's solid. This truck is solid. There's some mud that still needs to be removed to verify just how solid. And then remember those steps that I was talking or pointing out outside? Those are auxiliary fuel tanks. And I think those need to be removed. And then that'll really tell me how good a condition the old girl's in. But those cab corners are nice. Rockers, they're looking pretty damn good. But those fuel tanks definitely need to come out to kind of verify what's going on here. Even the bottom of the bed on this thing is, she's in pretty good shape. I mean, it ain't perfect. It's been around for quite a few years, but she's in good shape. So today's project is going to be pulling these rear wheels. And pretty sure this wheel here has bad wheel cylinders leaking. Hopefully that's the cause of my brake problem. And we'll just kind of go from there. See what we find.
Same way, this has got a valve over here above it. Is there a valve on the floor?
So we're trying to figure out how these auxiliary tanks come out of here, and it's kind of interesting. See that bolt right there? Or nut? That nut right there? That one down there? Now watch this. Look up in here, above the tank. See that standoff down there? And there's one right there. Try not to wash it out. It's kind of rusty sticking up. There's one down there. As far as we can tell, those three bolts go all the way through the tank and into the floor of the cab. So this is what we're struggling with. There's two carriage bolts right here. There's actually three. The one towards the transmission on both sides is loose, and the tanks will fall off of those. These two right here, probably, you know, moisture running down in from wet feet or something over the years. It's probably gotten underneath there and run down through the tubes in those old gas tanks, and they're seized. So we're gonna, I think we're gonna end up drilling those tops off of those and then just dropping the gas tank down that way. Lift her up.
What's the plan?
Let her down.
Yeah, I don't think that's just solid rod. It's not a carriage bolt.
It's not a carrot bolt?
That's a. I think. I don't know. Unless it's just really freaking old. It looks like weld.
I think it's old. One auxiliary gas tank out. That was an interesting challenge. Now for the other side.
Look down in there with your light. You can see like weld glob.
The oldest carriage bolt I've ever seen in my life, and it's not. Oh my goodness, it's homemade. Wow. It's welded on a nut. You would have thought that the gas tank came with a kit, but apparently hardware was not included. Pretty cool.
That's Yosemite dirt.
Oh my God. I don't know if you can see in here or not. That gas tank is plumb full of old dirt and rust. It's heavy as all get out. All right, so we got the gas tanks, the auxiliary gas tanks out of here, and you know, I haven't spent a lot of time underneath here. I really don't know this truck at all, and I looked underneath here, and I don't know if you can see it in the camera. It looks all dirt. That's dirt's scale on the face of that. But what that is, this thing has had like that Z-Art treatment done to it. So it's perfect. It's perfect underneath here. Everything. I mean, there was some dirt hiding where the tanks were capturing things up there, and there's a little bit of scale in a couple places. There's a little, but it's just surface rust. There's the hole from where the tank went through. There's the hole. We got a gas line, and then here, I'll bring this over here. He's got a little crossover piece of channel, and he's got his fuel lines run into it. Okay, he brings it over here. Brings it over here to this side, and right here is his valve that was on the inside, and he would do a transfer of some sort. But this side has got a little more surface rust on it than the other side, but it's just surface rust. There's no rust in this truck. The one and only place, which I already knew that they were rusted, the one and only place that they're rusting is where this rib is right here. Get the camera right. That rib in the back of the fender, and they're rust like right there. There's a little piece of rust, right? This side's in fair condition. It needs some repair. This side, I'm gonna get the camera up here. This side has actually got a little rot, and that is the worst place on the whole truck that I can find so far. And then right up there you see where the holes were for the gas auxiliary gas fill holes, and Tanner pulled those spouts out of there. I didn't do it, and those spouts fit those things like they were press fit in there. So I don't know, guy's pretty meticulous that put it in. And then Tanner's pointing out, let me get this up here. Here's the wood floor from the bottom side, and that factory floor, look at the edges on the wood up here. Let me get this up closer. Look at the edges on that wood. I mean, it's obviously this truck has not spent any time outside. Here's the backs of the cab corners. You know, the bottoms of the rockers, which weren't really visible before. Yeah, I kind of lucked into this one. And then here's
the uniqueness of this.
What do we got there? Oh, the mounts?
Yeah, it's a mount for the cab to the frame with
Watch out, Harp.
rubber.
Watch out, Harp. Yeah, I don't know. That's never seen that before.
I think it's for a camper. I think this truck was designed, like ordered to be a camper truck, not an add-on like slip in.
I don't know. Tanner's a little bit mad at me today.
Yeah, it's just not fair. It's too perfect under here. I mean, you could undo any of the hardware that you with no issue.
Overload springs, spare tire carrier. So half leaves bolted on. We still got the coil rear end. Spare tire carrier underneath here. I wish I had the original wheels for this truck, but they weren't on it. Had a little electrical patch done right there a long time ago. I don't really like that too much, but I'll deal with that later. Pretty happy, pretty happy. We got distracted with removing the fuel tanks, but I think it's time to start figuring out the brakes maybe now. So we'll get back to that. All right, here we are. Next day. Didn't get everything done day one. I'm not sure that this truck got greased very much. It got greased a lot. And there's stuff caked everywhere around all these. It took forever to chip all this crap out of here. And look at the diameter of these tubes on these shocks. I'm pretty sure these are the original shocks. They're not worth anything. They're shot, but I think they're original. So anyway, you can see I ended up taking the whole backer plate off of the spindle. The reason that I ended up doing that was where the hose goes into the back of the wheel cylinder. I couldn't get a wrench in there, and I didn't know how that was going to work. There was a metal tube that went out. It ended up being that that's all one piece, so it would have been easy enough. But what I could hardly get to were these two bolts here. The spindle goes right down through here and was kind of in the way. So between needing to just kind of clean everything up and being able to access things easily, it ended up being pretty easy just to take this off. Another testament to the condition of this truck is that all the threads are coming apart on everything we touch, like piece of cake. And you know, even the brake lines and stuff, you know, the nuts on the brake lines are they're loose. They just come right out, pop loose like you'd expect. Nothing's rusted up. So this is the front. The other side is, I haven't got the backer plate off of it yet. Get that off here in a little bit. And then the back, and here's the back. Wheel cylinder's been replaced on this side. Everything's put back together. It's ready to put the hub on. This is the first time I've ever messed with a float rear end. This thing is a behemoth. I mean, I've seen some big axles in some modern trucks, but I didn't expect it in this 1964 C20. This is just, it's a behemoth. But it's all coming apart and functioning and doing everything it's supposed to still. It's in great shape. Kind of feel like these are probably maybe the original shoes in here. Not 100% sure, but I don't know. I cleaned up with some parts cleaner, sprayed in there until everything kind of came clean. There's still some color on some of the springs. Yeah, there's a little red, so maybe it's had brakes put in it at some point. It probably has, but hard to say. Seals and bearings and the hubs are all looking real good. She's kind of an impressive old truck. Hey, did you guys see this thing earlier in the video? I just figured out what it is. Obviously I should have read, but it is an old intercom system for so when they're driving down the road, whoever was in the camper shell in the back could talk to the person in the front. Huh. Too bad I don't have both pieces of that. Well, I think I've officially come up with a name for this old truck. I'm just gonna simply call it Old Timer. I'm really not sure what's gonna happen to it in the future, but for now, it's roadworthy-ish. It's got brakes. Probably looks like I need a battery. It's leaking a lot of oil out of the engine. Probably could use side cover gaskets, valve cover gasket, probably a fan gasket. But in the meantime, I'm just going to drive it around and enjoy it a little bit.